Welcome back to the Two and Two podcast. I'm Madeline Campbell.
And I'm Mary Hayes. So this podcast, we chat all things relationships, boundaries, consent, but also we talk about the world, what it's like to be a young woman in the world, what dating is like. So we hope you find something helpful here today. Before we get started, we wanted to read out some comments from our lovely listeners. So Rebecca says, I listened to this yesterday, loved it, felt inspired, felt like a hug to women. Thank you for being vulnerable and amazing. Thank you, Rebecca. That is so
sweet.
Nice.
That's so sweet. Colm said, so excited that the Two and Two podcast is back.
Thank you, Colm. We're also very excited for season 2.
Yes.
Aoife then said, so glad this is back. Jenny and Destiny are absolutely incredible. We both agree. The last episode was such a good one. So if you haven't listened to it, please do.
Another comment from Kelsey said, great episode, really good insights. So it's nice to know people are actually learning from what we're talking about.
And then Enya said, Madeline is the perfect host. Really enjoyed the episode. Thank you, Enya. I also agree.
That's
I think
very
Madeline
sweet.
is
That's really
wonderful.
Nice. So before we do kick off, remember, if you are worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour National Freephone Helpline on 1-800-341-900, or you can use the chat service at 2into2.ie. Both are free and completely confidential. Today, we're joined by Juliana Shiel. She is a 2into2 ambassador, an artist, and a beauty influencer. And we'll be chatting to her about her experience of intimate relationship abuse, what a healthy relationship means to her, and how to help a friend you think might be experiencing abuse. Welcome, Juliana.
Thank
you for
Thank you for having me.
Coming on. So just to get started, I just want to ask, so obviously this is 2into2 podcast. Mm-hmm. So what is something that you are currently too into in a healthy way?
Yeah, in a healthy way.
Probably not dyeing my eyebrows anymore.
Okay, love.
I feel like I had aggressive eyebrow blindness for years. I saw a photo. I used to have like white hair. My eyebrows are jet black and like this, like that big.
Incredible.
For some reason I thought you used to bleach your eyebrows, no?
No, like I think my eyebrows naturally will disappear.
Oh.
They're very, very light. It looked terrible. I look back at photos and I'm like, no one told me.
I think they probably actually look great.
No, my friends told me they were like, yeah, they were.
Oh, no.
Well, they were just a lot.
I love it.
So who is a woman that inspires you? Is there someone that you can think of that like...
I would say Nora Casey. Do you know Nora Casey?
Yeah.
She was on Dragon's Den. I actually don't think I've ever told you this story. This is like, 5-6 years ago now when I first made that video.
Yeah.
Nora Casey was in a really physically abusive relationship when she was much younger and did a TED talk about it. And I found it on YouTube. And that was the first time I'd seen someone who was like really like a tank, like really strong, like a strong woman. Yeah. It wasn't like the stereotype talking about their experience. And I must have watched that video like 20 times on YouTube. Yeah. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She
spoke at our 50-year conference.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I do recall. Yes.
And she was young at the time as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think it was like in her mid-20s.
Yeah.
But now she's like this incredibly successful business investor, like powerhouse.
On that, so you made a video on social media talking about your experience. I think it was probably the first time, was it, talking about it like in a public setting?
Definitely. I think that was my first time like speaking on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay. Like this is before I was an influencer.
Yeah. So what made you want to make that video? Tell us, what was the video and why did you want to make it?
The video was me talking about the use of a service like Women's Aid. Mm-hmm. So I remember in the chat that I just mentioned, I asked, or I just said what was happening. Should I go to the police, blah, blah, blah. But they were like, what has been done to you is against the law. And I was like, that is so true. Because for some reason, maybe it's because I was so young, I just didn't see it as like domestic violence or abusive. That label seemed huge and like very serious. And yeah, I don't know why I stopped myself from calling it that for so many years. But that was the first time someone told me that that was just the truth.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of me accepting that that was the reality. And I made the video because me and my friends were doing a Women's Aid fundraiser because me and one of my friends had experienced something similar. So I guess I just wanted to make a video to be like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't like my full story. There was no details, but just to say like this was really serious and how it's affected me and it affects a lot of people.
Yeah.
To try raise money for Women's Aid, obviously.
Yeah. And I think as well, that's probably why so many girls don't realise what is happening is abuse because of the idea you know, even the phrase domestic violence, like
Yeah.
you think about somebody being in the home, you know, you're living together, maybe you're married, or even violence, you know, that there has to be physical violence. But for so many girls, there isn't. It's just emotional, you know, but
Yeah.
that's still serious. That's still against the
For
law.
sure. Yeah.
So I'm really glad that like you got that validation. Was that your first relationship? Like you were obviously young.
I was 19 when I met him. It was first year college, and then coming out of it 21. So it was like just under 2 years. But no, I'd had boyfriends, but like as a teenager.
Yeah.
Nothing serious.
Yeah. So how did the relationship like start? Like were there red flags or was it all very romantic? What was it like at the start?
Well, I always knew him through friends of friends. I knew who he was, but went on a date, really liked each other. It seemed normal at the start, but I guess when you're that young, you have no concept of what a relationship, like what's normal. Anything that happens to you, you're just like, okay, because you're so young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything is new, so you don't really know, you nothing to compare it to. But definitely quite, I would say, jealous and possessive. But like at that age, I think I liked that because it made me feel like he liked me.
Yeah.
So I didn't see anything wrong with it in the beginning.
Felt normal.
It felt normal, yeah. It felt good, I would
Yeah.
say. I still think a lot of people think like that in terms of relationship. If someone is jealous,
Yeah.
they get a good feeling, like
Yeah.
a safe feeling from that. But
Yeah.
that's not healthy.
Absolutely not. That's often the messages again that like girls get is that, well, if he's, you know, checking up on you all the time or is like worried about you, that's love. But
Yeah, yeah.
actually it can be possessive or,
Yeah.
you know, it can be very controlling because it's telling you, well, actually, I don't trust you to like think about your own safety or make decisions about your own
Yeah.
life, you know, when
Yeah.
you're still a person, like you can
Definitely.
decide what's okay and what's not. So like as the relationship went on then, like what were the types of things that were happening? Because I know you talk about physical abuse, but like, you know, when we were talking to Jodie Duggan, who's one of our other 2 and 2 ambassadors, like she really talks about the emotional side of things and how that really
Yeah.
kind of made her feel trapped.
I suppose it obviously gets emotionally abusive before it gets physical. But you just don't notice it. I think it kind of creeps up. I would say about 6 months in, because it's funny that guy that I was with that was abusive was very physically violent in general. Like we'd be on nights out and he'd be like getting in a fight every single night out. Like this was just constant. But for some people in those relationships, you would never assume that their partner is violent in any way. So when there is emotional violence, it's almost harder to believe. I don't want to say harder to believe, but you know what I mean? It's more like shocking because you're like, oh no, he's harmless. Like,
Yeah.
So when it's someone who's like physically violent, you're kind of like, okay, like or someone with a temper, you can see it. It's much more believable, which I think is much harder for people. So the emotional side is almost more sinister because people don't, you know, they don't meet it as much as someone that's violent.
And even just thinking about the fact that he was violent, you know, getting in fights and stuff, like I could see that then being something that maybe you turn back on yourself, like blaming yourself if there was violence, then if he was being violent towards you, because you're like maybe thinking, well, I know he's a violent person, you know, I should have not gotten into the relationship in the first place because I should have known, you know, these are generally the things that you hear in abusive relationships, you know, all that like self-blame and shame. So it kind of becomes the perfect tool for him then to be able to say things like, well, you knew what I was like. You know?
Yeah. I don't know what it's like now for teenage boys, but when I was a teenager, like people were beating the out of each other all the time. Like nights out, there'd be fights, there'd be broken noses, like people fighting with glass bottles. Now I don't like, maybe it's just who I was hanging out with. And I think because I grew up with a lot of that violence, like it was normal. I obviously wouldn't get involved, but I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I wouldn't be totally shocked. Whereas maybe someone who didn't grow up around that would be totally shocked and would be like, oh my God, this is like not right at all. But it's not normal to do that. It's not normal. I know like maybe people think teenage boys fight by nature and all that kind of thing, but it's not normal to be around that behavior or to be doing that behavior. It's weird.
You've spoken as well before about like the isolation from like your family and friends or just like people around you and the impact that had on you, that you felt quite alone, because abuse is all about power and control, you know. What were the ways that power and control were showing up in or that he was doing in the relationship?
Yeah, I would definitely say the jealousy thing. And then, like, even if I had male friends, like, that was something horrible that I was doing to him if he didn't know them. Trying to drive a wedge in between me and my friends, like, trying to convince me that my friends were, like, not good for me or they didn't care about me. Obviously, that was him trying to get me on my own. always like being quite selfish with my time. He would always want me to come over or be at his house, or like so he could have me there in front of him and not be wondering where I was or what I was doing. Like there wasn't freedom in the relationship to do what I wanted. But again, I just associated that with, oh my God, he's obsessed with me and wants me to be around all the time. That's probably what I thought back then.
When did it turn from feeling like, oh my gosh, like, okay, he's just obsessed with me, like this feels kind of good, to feeling like, oh, maybe something is wrong here? Like when did it kind of switch for you?
Yeah.
I guess like not until the very end.
Okay.
Not until the very, like I didn't think there's something seriously wrong here. Or maybe I just didn't process it until we broke up. Like I look back and it's so hard to understand how that was my thought process, that I wasn't like, this is really bad or this is really dangerous.
Yeah.
Like there was times where I genuinely thought I was going to be murdered, like in his apartment, where I'm like, how was I still like coming back? Like it's so hard to understand, even though like I have lived through it. But when other people say, oh, like, why didn't you just leave? It's almost like an impossible thing to explain. That's why I think the survivors always, there's like an instant bond, an instant understanding of people that have been through this, because you can't really explain it or understand it unless you felt it. It's a weird one.
We talked about in a season last year about like how you react to trauma, like the fact that you thought like, oh, I might get murdered here. Like that's really traumatic. So like, but also that a response to that is kind of that like disassociation from it, like, or not even being able to be like, that doesn't feel right. Like the fact that maybe you only felt that at the end is really valid. Yeah, I don't know.
It becomes your normal.
Yeah.
I think like looking back, I was in fight or flight the entire relationship.
Really, yeah.
Like I feel like there wasn't a moment alone for me to even think or process what was happening. So I was like in college, 40 hours a week, would work like 18 hours a week in a part-time job, and every other second was spent with him.
Mm-hmm.
So there really wasn't a gap. And it was only when I went on holidays with my family for 2 weeks, that's the first time I was like, wait, this is actually kind of bad, and realized I need to get away from this person. But that was the first time I ever thought that.
And I suppose that's why they want to isolate you.
Yeah.
So that they're in your head, so that they're always there trying to control not just your movements, but like it almost becomes to a point where like you control then your own thoughts.
They're
you know?
like controlling your perception of reality.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's crazy.
And like when you were away on that holiday, was he like texting you all the time and stuff?
Yeah. But then I just kind of stopped texting back, and I was like, oh, I can actually just stop texting him. That was kind of the beginning of me realizing what was going on. Yeah. Sometimes if I see people that are in like slightly controlling, abusive relationships, I can see that I can never get them on their own. He's always there, or their partner is always coming out. Like there's never getting them on their own. I'm like obviously hypersensitive to things like that because I've been through it. But it's really hard to get people like that on their own, to hang out with them or talk to them. And it's on purpose. And it's scary.
Were you ever able to like hang out with friends, or was it literally like you go to work, you go to school, you see him?
I definitely was distanced from my friends. I think I didn't feel lonely because we were hanging out with his friend group.
Okay.
And there was like girls in the friend group that I was really good friends with and blah, blah, blah. Obviously they had no idea what was going on. But because again, this was his space and I was coming into it, and he could kind of control the narrative around that group of friends.
And they're his friends as well.
They were his friends, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know you said that before, that like you'd say to him, like, I feel really like lonely, you know, I miss my friends. I feel like I've no one. And then he'd be like, well, you do have friends, but they were his friends.
That's who we'd be hanging out with every weekend.
Yeah.
Do you know, it was, that also totally fueled the ideas in my head that if this ends, if I get out of this relationship, I'm going to have no one. I'm going to be totally on my own. So not only are you trying to like break up with the ex or break up with the boyfriend, you're also going to lose your entire friend group. Yeah. But he made it that way.
What were the kinds of things that say like you would have been telling yourself? Because obviously, you know, there's the things that he's saying and doing all the time that then leads to almost like self-policing and stuff because you've been gaslit and controlled so much. Like, were you maybe like telling yourself, well, look, maybe it'll get better or it'll go back to the way that it was?
Definitely. Yeah. I remember thinking that I thought it was a relationship problem and not him being abusive. I thought it was like our dynamic is toxic. Like we bring this out of each other, but we're going to be able to change things. Because when you're in those relationships, you can't look into the future and see yourself without them. Yeah.
And you know as well, at the start when you were talking about like the whole like idea of what a victim, a domestic violence victim is and stuff. And like the way you were talking about Nora Casey and how, you know, she's such a strong woman. Like, do you think that impacted you like staying in the relationship or even like labeling it as abuse? Because you're like, well, that's not me. That could never happen to
I
me.
suppose like my only like exposure to that kind of thing would be seeing people in movies.
Yeah.
Like who were totally like,
Well, like the weak, you know, what we see, the
like
weak cowering woman in the corner with bruises and marks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I just didn't see myself in that. So I just couldn't relate to it at all. That's why when I saw Nora Casey, because she's so successful and she's like very strong-willed, that's how she comes across when I watched her videos. I was like, whoa, maybe it is okay to call myself that.
Yeah.
Do you know? Now, like I look back and I'm like, it's crazy that I was scared to use the abusive label. Like, it's crazy. But I suppose I had never seen a young person talk about it, like in their 20s. But now I see loads of videos all the time because of 2 and 2, obviously, which is great. And I actually do feel like it's such a strong source for people going through those things to see themselves in other people.
I think as well we have this idea of like the perfect victim that, you know, they have to be like quiet and weak. But like, that's the thing is, people who've gone through this, they can be combative, you know, they can like push back, and I suppose they're doing things to protect themselves. Like abuse is a traumatic experience and it will incite trauma responses. You know, one of those is fight or even freeze, you know, where you can just like stay in the relationship. So like, I thought maybe he would kill me, but you stayed. Like that was freeze.
I suppose when someone is so volatile in their temper, fighting back in any way, saying anything back is going to make it worse. So it's better to just kind of like go inside your shell and just wait until they calm down, if they calm down. That's kind of what I learned to do. I'd say in the beginning, there was more fighting back or me being like, what the hell? But then after a while, I knew it would just make it worse. So it just wasn't worth it for me.
So when you did finally reach out, was this after you had broken up, or were you still in the relationship? Or did you talk to a friend first, or like how did that process go?
My other friend who experienced something similar, I can't remember if I said it or she said it. It was after like a night out. We were like having a smoke outside a party, and she just said like, my boyfriend hits me or something. And I was like, same. And it was so crazy. I don't know what provoked her to say that, or if it was me that said it first, but we both agreed to break up with our boyfriends then and there. Isn't that so weird? Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Obviously, sorry, I'm not laughing. It's not funny. I'm like, iconic.
Well, I mean, like, that's it. It's like connection and like a shared experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you probably felt so alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, actually, there's someone else who understands.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think that was the beginning of me being like, okay. And also telling someone makes it real. Because I think a lot of people, abusive or not, people protect their romantic relationships a lot. Like, you know, when your friend breaks up with someone and then they tell you like the wildest stuff and you're like, what? But they didn't tell you when they were together because it's either embarrassing or they feel embarrassed. But you shouldn't feel embarrassed for your partner's behavior because it's not you. No, it's them. But people try, you know, they just try to make it look a lot better from the outside than it actually is. And every relationship has problems. But when it's something that you're like, if I told my friend this, they would call the police, tell me to call the police. They would be scared for my safety. That's not normal.
So were your friends, like, even though you were isolated from them, were they someone that, like, once you left, you felt like you could go back and they could support you? Or how were your friends kind of that support for you?
I suppose because we were all so young and no one had any idea. My parents had no idea how to support me, like, emotionally. Obviously, everyone was very much there to listen and blah, blah, blah. But, like, no one knew what to say. I think no one knew what to do. So I didn't really open up about it that often, like in terms of the detail, but just having people there that believed me and were behind me was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but I do think an actual therapist is what really I needed, you know, because like my friends were 21, like we had no idea about any of that stuff. Even I, like if someone came to me, I didn't know what to say. So yeah.
Because you were saying like that you felt isolated from them and you saw them like less and less. Like what was it like then, like going back to them? Like were they there or did they judge you, or were they like, how did they receive it, you know?
They have never said that they noticed that I was seeing them less. So I must have seen them.
Okay.
Like I wasn't like totally isolated. But I guess in my head, my ex was making me think that there was a wedge that wasn't there.
Yeah.
So they had no idea.
Or like you couldn't talk about your experience with them, so it still felt isolating because you can't be your full self around them.
Like in my head, they were like my friends that I was slowly losing and didn't really like me anyway. That was what I was being told or convinced of. But for them, they had no idea what was going on. Like that man never showed one like he never slipped up once in front of anyone. So when people found out, they were like, whoa.
And you had to be around him a lot, didn't you, afterwards?
Yeah, so he was in kind of like similar groups in college for 6 months after. But I don't think I'd really processed what had happened until months after that. But being around him was horrible because it made me also feel like how upset I was invalid because he was around me all the time and no one seemed to be saying anything or thinking it was bad. Until one guy did. One guy I actually barely knew was like to everyone, what are you all doing? Why are you hanging out with this guy when you know what he did? Yeah. I'm not going to say his name, but what a legend. I barely even knew the guy. Yeah.
We need more guys like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you were surrounded by him for like 6 months after that. But then, like, what was it like to kind of get back into dating? Did it take a long time, or like, what was your experience?
I'd say there was a year or two where I was deep down still afraid of men. Like, and probably afraid of like true intimacy. Yeah, I think there was definitely a moment of like the I hate men kind of thing, men are trash, that kind of thing, which is such a toxic mindset. Like, I see it still online, people saying that, and I'm like, if you are straight or attracted to men and you say men are trash, the men that you inevitably will either be with or date, if they display bad behavior, you're going to accept that because your mindset is men are trash. So I think it's really important to not think that, but it can be hard when you've experienced something like that because there's like a genuine fear
and distrust.
Yeah. I think I thought they're all probably like that deep down for a long time, but obviously I don't think that now.
And like, where was your like self-esteem, self-confidence at?
Really bad after the relationship.
Like, what were the kinds of things like he would say to you?
Black them all out. Sorry.
It's probably a good thing.
I'm trying to think. It's so funny when people ask me about this. Like, I can never like recall the information. I think you do black out a lot of it.
Well, that just goes to show how much of a traumatic experience it was.
Yeah. I also think I didn't go to therapy for so long after the relationship because I couldn't remember anything, or, you know, it wasn't upsetting me. I'd obviously like stored it away in my brain somewhere that I can't access. But I thought it was because I was kind of over it.
Yeah.
But actually, like, it's the opposite. Yes, that's why I also think it's important to like go to therapy, and when you're ready to explore those parts of your brain, because they are going to affect you later on.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely still affects me now.
Yeah.
It's been almost 10 years, which is crazy. Wow. It's wild.
So like, now that it's say 10 years later, like, how is dating? Like, what is it that you're looking for? Or are there certain things that you're like hyper vigilant to look out for? Or are there certain things that you like, green flags that you look for?
I feel like when you've been through a relationship like that, you can really see red flags from so far away.
Like, what would be the big ones for you?
Like, if someone has a temper, I think, you know, anger is a normal emotion, and it actually took me a few years to come to terms with that. I think I definitely dated people who wouldn't hurt a fly, which obviously I think everyone should look for that in a partner. And if there was ever a fight, it would really scare me. Or any kind of friction, any kind of conflict, I would literally just shut down and start crying, like, for no reason. Well, obviously, like, as my trauma, sorry. I think, I definitely avoided any conflict for a long time. But I do think, like, there's a healthy way to fight in a relationship.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I had to relearn that. And that took a long time. I like got such a buzz after I had a first fight with a boyfriend only like 2 years ago. I was like so happy after, because it was a healthy, normal fight, and I don't think I'd ever had that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to learn. That's an important thing to learn.
I actually love that. Like that was like a joyful moment.
Yeah, I was
like
so happy.
Having a normal, because that's it. Like, people think, oh, well, what you're saying then is a healthy relationship is where you never fight or anything like that. But like, abuse is a pattern, whereas fights and disagreements are so normal in a relationship.
Sure.
But if it's happening over and over, and if you feel afraid of them, then that's where the line has been crossed.
Yeah.
But like, to have healthy conflict, that's fine.
Normal
Also,
and healthy. Like,
conflict happens because you're two independent people. Like,
Yeah.
You're not the same person. So of course. But that is really nice that was joyful. Like, that's really nice.
What are the other types of things that you think young women are hearing or seeing, either in their own lives or their like friends and peers, or even online? Like, what are the messages that girls are getting that's impacting like their self-esteem or their how they date, or like what they're expecting in a relationship, or even accepting, you know? Or were there certain things you think that affected you?
When I was in that relationship, I would have turned a blind eye to a lot of really bad behavior because it was a man. Some of the things that I hear men say, like, if my friend said that to me, I'd be like totally shocked.
Yeah.
But because it was a partner, I don't know. I feel like I probably let things slide a lot more with him. Does that make
Probably,
sense?
yeah, no, absolutely.
Mhm.
Because I suppose men are taught to be dominant, to
Yeah.
have control, to be the ones who lead the relationship, who wear the pants,
Mhm.
and women are taught to be more submissive. And even if
Yeah.
you're not submissive, it's like these are the things that are rewarded,
Mhm.
So it's like you're the good woman.
Your life will be easier if you just kind of submit to those
Exactly.
stereotypes. Yeah,
Whereas when a woman like asserts her boundaries or even like communicates her boundaries or her needs, particularly around things like sex, you're seen as like difficult or too outspoken, or well, she's a feminist, she's one of these angry feminists,
Yeah.
because it goes against like what we're told to be growing up,
Mhm.
and it goes against like what we're rewarded
Mhm.
as for women. So it does make dating difficult, I think.
Yeah. It makes it more like you're putting in a lot more labor emotionally when you are doing those things, but you're not going to have like a balanced relationship without communication in any way.
Absolutely. So then what has helped you, build back your confidence? I know we spoke about counselling, but obviously it took time.
Yeah, time, giving myself time, like not being hard on myself. I also think when you feel like you've had time taken away from you, I feel like that those 2 years, like they were my last 2 years in college, and they would have been so different if I hadn't been with him. And my life, well, not that my life would be different, but sometimes I'm like, damn, I really had that taken away from me, which is so unfair. So I guess putting in a big effort to take that time back has really shaped my life and where I am and my relationships. Someone actually asked me so random in a drinking game, so inappropriate. They were like, would you take back everything that happened? And I was like, I actually wouldn't. If I could go back and not experience it. I was really lucky to learn all those lessons, like the red flags and what to avoid and what I deserve, and like to rebuild my self-esteem from that experience really, really young. So I have that lesson for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Whereas like some people aren't so lucky,
Yeah. And I suppose that's what we're trying to do with Two Into You is teach.
Prevent it from happening in the first
Exactly.
place.
Yeah. Teach young people about it early on so that they have this from a young age, because the reality is, for most girls, it starts before they turn 18. So, they're kids. So to learn those lessons as early as possible is so vital. So you're an ambassador for the Two Into You project. So I suppose we approached you, but like, why was it important for you to get involved, or why did you want to get involved?
I suppose, what you just mentioned, like preventing it is key. That's how it's going to stop. When you look at all the red flags on the Two Into You website, they're like kind of normal. They were like normal in loads of relationships that people have when I was younger and still now. When they're fighting with their partner, like feeling afraid to say what you want is normal in their relationship. But like that's horrifying.
Yeah.
But I think it takes having a healthy relationship to see that, but it's only with hindsight. So I guess if you can give someone that information when they're young, it's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
If everyone knew all the red flags and all the things that were actually abusive, there would be so much less pain.
Well, I know that your story has helped so many people, because we often get people reaching out to us and say, I read the stories on the Two Into You website and it was really, really validating, and it helped me recognize that what I was going through, was abuse. And for them to understand that, actually I do deserve support. This isn't just in my head,
Yeah. And a big part of it as well is like, I'm not ashamed of what happened to me, because it wasn't me that did anything wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think for a long time, I did feel like embarrassed, or like I was afraid that people would look at me like I was like really messed up,
Yeah.
There's like shame around it.
So before we wrap up, what's something that you would want to tell younger people, or what's something you wish you knew when you were younger?
I guess just all the information that I have now. If your partner is doing something and you're trying to hide it from people around you, that is the biggest red flag of all. You should never be ashamed for someone else's behavior, but you shouldn't be protecting them either. And you should never be afraid of your partner in any capacity. Yeah, probably those two things.
But if you are protecting them, that's a normal response to abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any message, I suppose, for anyone listening in who maybe resonates with your story and is thinking, well, this seems like a really scary path to go down, to like label this as abuse? And, because often people will say, well, I feel like if I call the helpline, I'm taking time up from someone else who really needs it.
Yeah, that's kind of, I remember like feeling like that when I was first reaching out. I think don't put it on a scale.
Yeah.
Like, don't put abuse on a scale. I honestly think that emotional abuse is what sticks with you for the longest time, rather than the physical stuff. So but don't even compare those two things. They shouldn't be compared. Like, the services are there for people to use. So, like, if you've been abused, you've been abused, and you have every right to reach out and use the services.
And finally then, what's life like now? Is there hope after abuse?
Yeah, it's pretty great. Like I said, I wouldn't take back any of those learnings. Like, there's people that I meet on like nights out and stuff, and if they even just say one thing, I just know I'm not going to tolerate that behavior, and I just don't engage with people like that. Whereas when I was a teenager, like, I would have been much more lenient with bad behavior, toxic behavior, and I would have probably stuck around a lot longer. So I think there's, like, my circle of people around me is so much better now.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to identify my boundaries and assert them.
Yeah, love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that we have been able to have you on the podcast, because you've been an ambassador for 5 years now, isn't it? Yeah, it's incredible.
Crazy.
So
That's amazing.
yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your story, because I know it can be difficult, but you know, this will help so many people. I just know it will. And like you said, you don't often see young people talking about this. So I think for other young people to see someone like you talking about it will be so helpful. So thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
What a great chat with Juliana.
Yeah, so good.
I'm so glad we finally got her onto the pod, because she's such an incredible advocate for 2&2. But also, like, I love how she talks about the idea of the perfect, like, victim and survivor.
Yeah. The fact that what made her realize her relationship was abusive was that she saw someone who didn't fit the mold that society has told us is an abusive victim, that you're weak and, you know, you have to be covered in bruises and whatever. The fact that she saw a video of a really strong, powerful woman saying, no, this happened to me too.
Yeah.
Like, really goes to show, like, how far we are from recognizing that abuse can happen. That's not just a certain type of person. It can happen to anyone, which is unfortunate, but it also
shows us that it can look any way.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be just physical, and it can be emotional, or it can be any form of abuse, or it can be any combination of abuse, and it's still an abusive relationship, and you still deserve to reach out for that support.
Yeah. And I think that's really important as well for us to remember when we're thinking of our friends and the people around us.
Yeah.
You know, to not be judgmental and to not say, well, you know, it doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Or, well, why are you still with him? You know? And that's why it's so important for everyone to learn how to recognize abuse, so that, you know, if a friend does come to you and need to talk to you, that you're then able to recognize it and see it for what it is. Because often people will think, well, maybe it's just a problem in the relationship, like Juliana said, you know.
And really minimize what it is, but it is abusive.
Yeah, I suppose it's to prevent us mislabeling it as a relationship problem and actually seeing it for what it is, as something that is not okay, it's not normal, and it's actually against the law.
Yeah.
But also something that means you deserve support. You don't have to go through it alone. So that's why on 2into2.ie we have a help a friend guide, and there's loads of helpful things on, you know, what to say, what not to say, how to spot the red flags in a friend's relationship as well. That 1 in 5 number, more than likely there's someone in your life that is either currently going through this or has gone through it in the past, or maybe one of your friends might go through it in the future. So it's really important for us all to arm ourselves with that information, so we're prepared when those conversations happen. Remember, we're always here for you. Whatever your question might be, we're here to help at 2into2.ie.
And if you're worried about your own relationship or even a friend's relationship, you can call the Women's Aid 24-hour national Freephone helpline on 1-800-341-900, or use the chat service at 2into2.ie. Both are free and completely confidential.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow the 2into2 podcast wherever you get your podcasts. A new episode drops the first Monday of every month. See you next time.